Angelica 81, Reverend Ed, do you think that Jesus warning the church about being deceived, that we are seeing the Christian nationalist religion? Yeah, I mean, there's many ways the church has been deceived over the years. There are many ways the church will be deceived over the years, and it's not just Christian nationalism. It's not, capitalism has infected the church. I was talking to a friend the other day, and we were talking about Barabbas. So you know the story of Pilate. Jesus is going to be crucified, and Barabbas is another prisoner. And Pilate says, "I'll release one of them. Who do you want?" And of course, the crowd says, "Release Barabbas." And as we were talking, of course, my buddy was very literal in it, that it was because of this person. I said, no, dude. We are continuously faced with the choice of Barabbas. Like, this isn't a one-off thing for Christians. It's not a one-off thing for people. It's not a one-off thing for the church. We are in a continuous cycle of being asked by Pilate, right, by a worldly authority, if we would rather have Jesus or Barabbas. And oftentimes we fail. Like, we're continuously choosing Barabbas, as opposed to choosing Christ, as opposed to choosing Christ's ways, as opposed to choosing Christ's call, as opposed to choosing Christ's priorities, as opposed to choosing Jesus's teachings, Jesus's value system. We are continuously choosing Barabbas. I mean, we were out in the church talking about this, and I said, "Look around, man. This building represents Barabbas." Our budget as church, and then I'm not knocking my congregation here at all. I'm not knocking this parish. It's something that every congregation experiences. We have a budget of X amount of thousands of dollars to keep the building going. And yet nowhere in Jesus's teachings does he say, "Oh, and by the way, if you can, try to get your expenses down to about 60% of your revenue. That way you'll have money left over for the poor." He doesn't say, you know what? I understand. I want you to take care of the poor, but first make sure that your building looks like this, or your building has that. It ain't there. Take care of the poor. Take care of the widows and the orphans. Take care of the sick and the dying. Take care of the prisoners. Take care of the least of these. Feed people. Like, we are continuously choosing Barabbas over and over and over again. Barabbas represents the earthly solution to what we believe to be our problem. Right? Barabbas represents the earthly solution to what we believe is our real problem. Jesus represents the spiritual solution to what is truly our problem. But it ain't a one-time thing. And Christian nationalism is definitely the Barabbas right now. It's for many people. Christian nationalism represents, how do we make our nation Christian? How do we force people to live a Christian life? Because if we do that, God will bless this nation, or God will whatever, right? How do we go back in time to 16 whatever, right? How do we do that? How do we go back? Because if we could just do that, everything will be great. If we can just go back to the way it was when Granddaddy was here, that'll be great. If we can just go back to the way it was when the founding fathers were here, that'd be great. That's Christian nationalism. Is the Barabbas solution to what is the earthly solution to what they perceive to be their problem. And they will, because you can't choose both. We will reject Christ in order to accept Barabbas. We will reject Christ to choose Barabbas. Trump is another one. It's the Christian church in the United States. I think the other day I was looking at poll numbers, and it showed that something like 70% of white evangelical Christians approve of his. Everybody else hates what he's doing. Everybody else thinks it's awful. 70%, somewhere around there, of white evangelical Christians, yeah, he's the guy. They approve of exactly how he's handling things. And the reason is that they believe they believe he has the earthly solutions to what they think are their problems. And therefore they are rejecting Jesus. They're rejecting Jesus' teachings and Jesus' ways and Jesus' call, when in fact following Jesus would solve what is really their issue. So, Christian nationalism, absolutely. But there's a million different things that Christians have chosen that are in the very same way as the people chose Barabbas. There are millions of things Christians since Jesus ascended. We've chosen Barabbas a million different times because we thought this was an earthly solution to something that we believe to be our problem. Whereas turning to Jesus and his teachings and his ways and his call and his mission and his values and his ideals and his dream would have solved what's really going on. Brilliant question, Angelica. God bless you. Amen.